Syria?
Well, just let me say, I think we are missing the point by shifting the conversation more on Israel and the United States. I think if they wanted to change the regime in Syria, and if they, I mean, you would think that would be the best scenario for them, just to change the regime in Syria, because then it will separate Syria from Iran, and that will weaken Iran in the region too. Syria, the closest ally in Iran, but they haven't done so, and for the 16 months they tried, in my judgment, they tried to wait for international consensus, and they haven't used really any unilateral or aggressive methods. And I think we should more focus on what is going in Syria.
Don't you think that
this is
the
a
regional allies like
uprising.
Saudi Arabia and Qatar, they're the surrogates for the U.S.?
No, well, I think every country in the region wants to secure its own national interests. You have Iran, Saudi Arabia, there is the Shia-Sunni confrontation, there is the influence of Iran in the region, and there is Hezbollah. All these are the intricate relationship, I think, play a role, but I don't think that it's the way you characterize it, that they are some sort of playing in the hand of the United States or Russia or Israel directly.
Carl in London, you want to jump in? Go ahead.
Yeah, because I think that's a very important angle. I think since the beginning from Tunisia and Egypt, the beginning of the Arab uprising, we've seen that Saudi Arabia and Qatar have actually kind of broken free from this American region order, so to speak, which has completely collapsed. And we can see very clearly the declining US influence over here and the lack of clarity about how to restore it, which is kind of breeding, this competition between Qatar and Saudi Arabia. And again, both of those countries kind of meddling more aggressively in the affairs of other countries. I mean, just mention the example of Bahrain, where Saudi Arabia sent its troops over there without any Western condemnation. And that's a very clear example of the type of activity that we're seeing. And that's, again, contributing to this further region instability, because you don't even have that sort of American common factor that used to orchestrate regional policy. You have independent competing powers now, even between Saudi Arabia and Qatar, which is very, very destabilizing for the region.
Okay, Stephen, if I can go to you.
Oh, I fundamentally
go ahead,
disagree with that.
Jump in.
I fundamentally disagree with that. Qatar and Saudi Arabia are working closely with Western countries. Saudi Arabia has the deep pockets. They're doing a lot of funding. Qatar has got a lot of money as well. But they are actively working with Britain, with Washington, with France. Israel is involved. Jordan is involved. They haven't broken away. They're partners in this enterprise. Can I bring in one very important thing? To talk about transition in Syria. Does anybody remember that I think around March, there was a new constitution written for the Syrian people? It was presented in a national referendum, and Syrians overwhelmingly voted to pass that constitution. I read it. I wrote about it. Not perfect, but really a wonderful constitution, a democratic constitution. In May, Syria had its first ever free, open, and fair, internationally monitored parliamentary election. It shamed some of the ones that go on in the West. And again, I mean, this was a wonderful achievement. Transition.
Okay, on that note there, gentlemen, interesting discussion here, but we've run out of time. Many thanks today to my guests in London, Chicago, and in Los Angeles. And thanks to our viewers for watching us here at RT. See you next time, and remember, crosstalk rules.